Let me take you right from the start. It was a regular Saturday and I was enjoying music whilst I was cleaning the car. And as expected, I decided that I would also take the time to just check the engine fluids and see if everything checks out fine. And that is my oil dipstick. You already know what's going on.
Whoops.
So the car was mixing oil in the water, and this usually happens when the head gasket fails. The water wasn't contaminated, but the oil was. So this meant that I had to pull the whole engine apart and separate the cylinder head from the block to really check what's going on. Well, my approach is quite simple. One spanner, one bolt, one turn at a time. Most of the process is quite straightforward, and I'll just let you watch through instead of me talking through the entire length of the video. So you know what they say, begin with the end in mind. As I was dismantling everything, I made sure to keep tags so that the reassembly would be quite easy and straightforward. I was sure to protect the injectors from dirt. I usually line up my bolts on a card box in the pattern in which I remove them. That way they are easy to track. I can assure you it's not supposed to be like that. You can see the sludge was basically everywhere. It's quite a slow process, but there's no other way of doing it. And there I just removed the engine cowling. I placed stoppers where the injectors go just to protect from dirt. The fuel lines, the inlet, the throttle body were out of the way, and we're moving on to the exhaust. The exhaust bolts were hacks, so I had to go and get an extra set of tools to do the job properly. Alright, so I've disconnected the exhaust downpipe, the two of them. Alright, and just like that, the exhaust manifold was also out. Took out the fan. So the shock was pretty much done. So this was not particularly easy to remove, but it's out now. Alright, and then this is when I removed the timing chain cover. Alright, so they are on approximately 20 degrees of positive or past the top dead center. And here, as you can see, those locking pins or Allen keys can push in through the caps to the camshaft sprockets on both the inlet and the exhaust. So this is how you confirm your timing. And your camshaft has to be retarded. There's that notch over here, you see it's all the way this side, meaning that it's retarded. Alright, so I've removed the tensioner, which is this one. So at first you need to unlock this inner one that uses a hex, and then you do the outer one, which is this whole thing, and it's a 27 socket. And that is the top chain guide. Alright, so as you can see on cylinder number 1, the cam lobes are facing up, meaning that they're not really pressing on the lifters, and on this one we're seeing the round edge, meaning that they have slight pressure on there. On this one again, there's not quite any pressure on there since the cam lobes are facing up, and there's quite a bit of pressure as they're facing downwards. So it means that I need to loosen it in a way whereby with these ones where there's no pressure, I can loosen them quite easily, but the rest where there is pressure, they're sharing the load, so I need to remove them bit by bit so that at least the camshaft won't snap. And like that, the exhaust cam was out, and I needed to do the same thing to the inlet, but that process I didn't record it. I needed to cover ground. Alright, so there's the final clips. And I've also taken out the lifters, so the caps are also numbered. There's 1, there's 2 there, there's 3 there, there's 4 there, 5, there's 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So they should all go back to where they were. So there's this guiding pin for the chain guide that goes on through this hole that we need to take out. I'll show you shortly how we do that. Alright, so there's this first 10 bolt, right? It's the one that goes inside this guide pin. And then there's this socket, it's just working as a spacer. And then this nut right here, 10 nut, is the one that is used to push the socket against this wall, which in turn makes this thing go out. So you can look there for reference. Let me see if the camera will focus, and then see what happens as I tighten it up. So as I'm pressing the socket down, give me a second, like so, you see now that cap is increasing. So that is what I'm doing there. I'm pulling it out. You see it's moving. So take a look there. You see now the cap is larger. Okay, keep looking. There. 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 Alright, so the pin is out now. Alright, so there are 4 bolts that we need to remove in the timing cover area. There's 1, there's 2, and the other ones are behind the chain guide. And we need to remove all 4 of them before we get to the head cylinder bolts. Alright. So the head gasket is like this, and I think once I inverted it, I realized where it was failing. You can see that there's that depression on the cylinder head, and it's not supposed to be there, so it meant that the head had to go and be skimmed. Yeah, and this is where we are at now. We just need to take the head to get it serviced. So you see this hole, right? It was clogged with this stuff. I don't know what it is, but yeah. There's a couple of obvious things that you need to buy whenever you're doing an overhaul. And this includes your head gasket, your silicone, your oil filter. And another big issue had to do with the leaking steering box. So I think you agree with me that it would be easier for me to do the works now because the cylinder head is already out. So yeah. I also realized that the right engine mounting was in pretty bad shape. I mean, really, just look at that. It was bad. This one is a second hand, but it's better. It's better than that one. I mean, by a milestone. Alright, so we're now removing the damper. So this thing would make a lot of noise whenever the engine was idling. It was irritating. Well, I went for the fully synthetic oil, and then I also needed some degreaser and some engine cleaner. Alright, so there is the steering box exposed. I went to a local car breaker in the deep of the night and then had to take this one, and it seemed to be in great condition. Alright, so this is the steering box, and it's as dry as ever. These leaks were from when I was undoing these 2 bolts. I had to get jack stands. These are a must-have for safety. And that's the old oil filter with all the sludge. Oil filter housing is somewhat clean. Yeah, I think I did try. Just gonna close this one up for now. Alright, that new damper is in. I had to remove the track rod. You can just see how the leaks makes everything nasty and dirty. And like that, the culprit was out. I'm quite sure nobody's going to look at the underside of the car, but I still just feel better after I've cleaned everything out and it's looking dry and neat. You can see the bit of silver there. Now that's clean. Okay, but the next morning, everything had dried out and we popped the new steering box. Alright, it was time to put back everything. So I got a flat light because I needed to push through the night. So the next day I started by putting in the cams and everything was looking quite well, and then I just stocked them down. And for all torque values, I was using the manufacturer's guidance as specified in their service manual. So inserting that pin is just tapping it in lightly into the front of the block, and that's the one for the timing chain guide. Alright, so one needs to be very careful with the tensioner. It needs to be disassembled and then reassembled to make sure that when you reinstall it, it won't make the chain too tight. So I reinstalled the tensioner, and it's got different torque values for the inner and the outer bolt. Around 10 p.m. I wanted to call it a day, but I couldn't leave it like that, so I just kept on pushing. I was exhausted, but I had to see it through. Alright, so I've put the top cover bolts and also the plugs are in there in each one of the cylinders. And I'm about to put this thing on there. The fuel roll is in, all the injectors, signal cables are in, as well as the HT cables of the coil from the coil packs, and the vacuum lines as well. I'm just left with tightening up a few bolts, and then this whole side is alright. I've just left with buckling in the exhaust. Alright, and like that, the exhaust is in, and now we move on to putting in the rest of the stuff. At this point, the engine was looking quite nice, and the question was, will it run? And before I could even start it up, I realized that the starter was bad, so we had to overhaul it. So this is what it was like from the inside. But the brushes, they look fine. Just need to clean all of that dirt out. You can see this one is even corroded there. This one fell out of there. Alright, so I did a quick wash of this one using carb cleaner. My hands are now itchy, but it looks clean. Alright, that looks better. It's not perfect, but I think it will do. And also I've soldered there, and there for the connectors. I just added more grease to these little gears. I don't want to dig into deep because I don't have the time. But yeah, I think down there everything should be fine. I pressurized the top through the oil cap opening just to clear out the dirty oil. So after the engine works, we went for wheel alignment and then took it to get washed. And after that, it was ready for our first ever road trip.